Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 904, Richard's here. We've got lots of things to talk about. We've got some new builds of Windows. We'll be talking about that. What are the channels for? And what are the new changes in the channels this week? And there's quite a big update for a release preview as well. We've got some music tech to talk about. Got lots to talk about, so let's get straight to Richard. Good evening.
Good evening.
And you're back from your epic bike ride.
I am back from cycling to Paris. Yes, indeed. Yes, legs of steel and a belly full of beer. So all good.
What can you ask for?
Well, exactly. It was great fun. I highly recommend it, and I'm pleased to say that my various devices did not let me down once. The batteries worked okay. The phones kept their GPS locked, so all was good. I didn't get lost at all. Although I don't particularly want to ever cycle around Paris ever again.
No, I can imagine. I mean, I've walked around Paris and seen the traffic. Never mind cycle around those. But that's
utterly terrifying. Yep.
Yeah. It looked. I was trying to work out. I was at this kind of junction thing, and I wasn't, like I said, I was only walking. I was trying to work out who has right of way, and it appeared to be nobody, and everybody just sorted themselves out, going round each other and overtaking each other left. And it was it was absolutely crazy.
I think it's one of those things that kind of, if you're a native, you know how it works, and if you're a foreigner, as I was, you don't know how it works, and you should probably take it extra careful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's probably like driving around Hyde Park Corner or something. You know, if you do it all the time, you're kind of used to the way. But yeah. I'm very impressed that you managed to cycle around there. Well, I had great fun at Gardener's World Live.
Oh, that's very glamorous.
Yes,
Perfect.
It was. Yes, I did see a few of celebs. The Gardener, it's a good food show as well. So nothing related to this show, but lots of nice food and drink to try. So yeah, that was great. My only one complaint, and I've been to the NEC. Oh, well, for years I've been, all sorts of shows there over the years, as I'm sure you have. Have you ever parked at the East Car Park, which is the first one when you arrive off the M42? Sorry for you listeners not in the UK, but if anybody in the UK, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I've always used public transport because I simply can't face the pain.
Right. Well, I didn't know there was a whole nother side to the NEC. If they made all visitors park at this East Car Park, which is I tracked it with my phone on the way back to it, 1.1 miles from the actual place where the shows are.
That sounds like great. That sounds like good exercise, though.
Yeah, it was. I did like 8 miles walking that day, which was great. But there's a Bear Grylls world there, and there's a casino, and there's restaurants, and there's all sorts of things.
A Bear Grylls. What's a Bear? Just so again, in case no one knows who Bear Grylls is, he's an adventurer, I guess. He does various sort of wild type adventures and treks and things around the world. So. What's in the Bear Grylls world?
I don't know, but it was a big thing. There were big climbing areas and all sorts of. I suppose it's physical activities or something. Well, I obviously walked straight past it. But I tell you what, though, it's a big place that when they park you down effectively the wrong end of it all. So I don't know whether they were making. It wasn't like it was EV parking one way and old school the other way. It was just everybody park at this big car park. They do have buses on there. I didn't see very many of them, but of course you don't really know how far it is. It doesn't say 1 mile or anything. So it doesn't really bother me because we did some walking anyway. But it still was interesting. But it walked off some of the food and drink that I consumed while I was
exactly. I'd say they did you a favour there, didn't they? Did you a favour because you could enjoy the food stands and then know that you got a good half hour to walk it off to get back to your car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but otherwise it was a good show. I think I do miss the old Gadget Show Live that used to be on there. That was always a good show. That we've met up there, haven't we? A couple of times, I think. I've certainly met Gary there a couple of times.
I think you met Gary. I think that the last thing we met up was an event at, was it Thorpe Park or somewhere? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. So anyway, I like it was a good show, but I do miss the sort of the tech shows. There isn't the same kind of tech shows like. Well, the Gadget Show is the only one for the last few years that I've been to.
I agree that there's, there doesn't seem to be anywhere anything like the excitement that used to be when we were young. I mean, do you remember the old PCW show at Earl's Court? That was great. That was, you see all these these new computers and bits of tech, but I mean, even things like, I mean, obviously Comdex is long gone, I think, isn't it? And CS is on the way up. It feels like so, and they're not. I mean, they're not really the same as they used to be. So yeah, it's a shame that kind of era maybe is passing.
Yeah, and it's just it's the social aspect of of meeting up as well and wandering around and having a hands-on look. And there used to be some good music tech shows. There was one on at the NEC as well that I used to always like. So you get to play on some of the instruments that the synths and things that you wouldn't normally get to see. Now, I did go to Synthfest in Sheffield last year, which was really good actually, but it was much smaller scale, very niche focus, which is what probably these shows need to survive now. But that was the old ones were quite broad and stuff like that. So I kind of missed that.
I'd say Synthfest sounds properly nerdy. Sounds wonderful. I like the sound of that. That sounds great.
It was brilliant. I'll probably go again I think it's on again this year. It was on in Sheffield. I think it was in September last year. I went with my lads and we had a great time. Just playing on synthesizers. Yes,
do a report and nab some interviews in. It'd be great.
Yes, last year was my reconnaissance to find out what it's like, and I think this year I'll tell you if I can get a good press pass in there. But yeah, these perhaps niche events are probably more where it's at now, and even things like the EV shows that Gary, fully charged, that they're kind of a niche, aren't they? And rather than just a car show.
Well, exactly, and I mean, I've always been very impressed with the events put on at the computer museums as well, and also things like
they're brilliant. Yeah,
the Raspberry Pi meetups. So they're there. It's just the trade shows aren't what they used to be. I think is what we're getting really. It's like in the past there was a big show and kind of you'd go there and there'd be the consumers there and there'd be the public would be allowed in for a few days and it was great. But I think, as I said, those days are past. And that's a case of it. But there are lots of events for your particular hobby. So.
Yeah,
and in your case, it's synth, and I'm intrigued by Synthfest, and you must go.
I definitely will. And also there was things on sale as well, which I didn't buy anything last year. I was very good, but now I know. Right. Well, of course, what we've got to talk about this week, we've got some new builds to talk about. A few bits and pieces on the builds, and a few interesting things on there as well. We've got. In fact, there's one just dropped tonight, actually, which is 226211926 for the release preview channel. There's some interesting updates there. So this is effectively the next update, isn't it? To the release preview is almost the next update to Windows 11. So there's things like badge notifications and some sharing, some language processing stuff. So there's quite a lot of new things. I've not installed it yet. I've just fired up my Hyper-V session to install it, but it looks quite interesting. There's a few bits and pieces there. USB 4 is in there. So I remember we talked about that a few months ago, maybe. That was in the dev channel, I think. So it's quite a long list of things.
I mean, I assume this is going to be Windows 11 23 H2. When I've heard some people saying they found traces of 23 H2 in the files. So
this is going to be a non-build update. Effectively, this is the KB type update. 23 H2, you're right, is on the way, and I think that's what's in the dev channel. All the there.
Okay, yeah. You see, I am losing track of these channels because there's release preview, beta, dev, and Canary. It's just so confusing at the moment.
Yeah, and until we find out Microsoft's bigger plans, it's quite interesting that Canary is really rubbish at the moment. There is nothing in there.
I mean, I kind of assume it must be happening under the hood. I mean,
yes, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that would be a question I'd ask Gary is what's happening behind them, because I'm sure things must be going on behind the scenes and they just haven't brought the shell up to date yet, I suppose. But I have no idea.
So so last week Microsoft released 23481 for the dev channel, and that had some new pen input features, which actually look quite useful. This
is the Windows, the ink stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so let me share that screen as well. That's the other thing I can do. Now I'm back on the old version of Teams. I can actually share Windows easy. So this has got shell I think there's actual shell handwriting setting now in settings, so you can use the pen to directly into settings. Now you can do this already. You can go into a box and start writing, but it brings up the input box rather than just writing text straight in. So this is almost like if it was a Windows tablet operating system, maybe Windows XP tablet operating system.
What would that look like? Yeah, yes, it's. I mean, although of course it's worth pointing out, it is US English only at the moment, and of course it's as with all things in Windows Insider, it's only going out to certain users. It's they're doing their A/B testing again. So yeah, I mean it's a neat feature. So instead of having to click on a box and then write in the in a pop-up screen, you actually scroll on the screen itself. It's neat for those who've got pens and Windows tablets. I'd like to know how many people do actually have pens and Windows tablets and actually use them.
I've got a pen and a Windows tablet.
That's good for you. So you're
what?
you're the target market. But it is it's a neat thing. But one can't help wonder how many Windows tablets there are out there that will actually benefit from this, and how many people are just using the keyboard.
Yeah, and I think on my. Well, I did manage to lose one of my pens at Heathrow Airport a few months ago, which is rather frustrating. But it was clipped on the side and dropped off. The old Surface Go doesn't have a very strong magnet, whereas the Laptop Studio has a brilliant magnet on it. Anyway, on my Surface Go, I use the pen occasionally, but I mainly use touch. On the Surface Laptop Studio, I use it occasionally. I find it handy for signing documents if I've got to sign something with an old-fashioned sort of signing, and I just use the pen on that. But I don't use the pen as much as perhaps I should do. I tell you what, I did use the pen in OneNote with the Surface Go in meetings. I used it all the time in that, but my Surface Go doesn't really work properly now, so I'm kind of missing that. But yeah, it was good for that.
Yeah, I mean, I did notice in this field that they've done some, I would say, fairly major changes to File Explorer. I mean, when they're saying they're removing old settings, but this might cause people some grief where they're going to basically remove some set settings from the folder options in File Explorer, ostensibly to clean things up. The legacy settings, Windows 11 users don't really use them much, so who needs them? So minor things like show drive letters, hide protected OS files, all that stuff. You think, oh, okay, there's quite a few things being taken away there. You can still change them in the registry, but I can't believe Microsoft would ever want a normal user going into the registry to tweak things. So why do you think they're hacking these things out?
Yeah, that's interesting, that, isn't it? Why remove them? It's not like the dialog boxes are particularly cluttered at the moment, is it? So
yeah,
I don't know. Interesting. There must be simplification. I can understand, but I would as a developer, I would probably just stick them in a little box and put show advanced settings and pop them out.
Well, exactly. Particularly since they're still in the registry, so you can still. I mean, I presume if you're an admin, you can still control it through policies or what have you. But it just seems a strange choice to make. But good news, there's a new widget, the Focus Session.
Yeah, that's
great news.
Great. Yeah, and that I must admit, I never use this. This is not the Focus Sessions. Is not something. Maybe I'm not focused, but I don't use it at all. I've probably I'd like to think that maybe I would if I was doing something, but I tend to I can focus myself, so I don't need some Windows telling me to do it. So
I'm very able to close down chat windows and turn off email for a while. I can do it better. It's more yet another widget. Oh, really, another widget? Great. Whereas the first thing I do now is turn off all widgets. So
yeah, the widgets I think would be better when you can turn off the news feeds, which they are doing, but still they need some real killer widgets rather than just little things like that. But I applaud their endeavors to improve widgets. The other one that I think a lot of people have asked for is the never combine mode for the taskbar, so it doesn't group things together. So I know a lot of people like that one, but I'd
like that one for sure.
Yeah, so far the only one of these features I've got, I've got the File Explorer update, so I lose some features. I've got the widget, but I haven't got the combined taskbar, and I haven't got the pen input. So there's another interesting one here. I was going to ask you about, seems quite innocuous here, but starting with this build, chat is now Microsoft Teams free. Teams free is pinned at by default and can be unpinned. Stay tuned. But this is the thing that was kind of a big feature of Windows 11, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is quite strange. So yeah, I mean, chat and things was kind of a consumery type thing, and that seems to be going away in favor of this Communities in Teams app. But yeah, I'm a bit confused as to what's actually happening here, because it looks like, because I mean, Teams was obviously built into Windows, but it seems like the standalone Teams app is going, chat's going away. They're going to have a standalone free Teams app, but I don't understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. I mean, I'm wondering if perhaps this is a preemptive response to some of the antitrust cases that are going their way, or that are heading their way in terms of with Teams bundling. Because I did read, I think last month or month before, that they were going to have to remove Teams, or were likely to remove Teams as part of the Office bundle because of concerns over unfair practices. So I wonder if this is connected to that, the fact that they're changing Windows in this way. I'm not sure what's happening. What do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't think many people use the built-in chat. Maybe people understand what Teams is, and so a free version of Teams makes sense. But I just don't know how many people are going to use it. In the day job, I live in Teams. Teams is sort of use it for everything. But for my personal stuff, the only time I use Teams is when I chat with you guys on a Tuesday night. The rest of the time I don't use it.
I mean, it's just odd because I mean, chat, again, I could be completely wrong here, but I think that was based on a Teams client, I believe.
It was just it was the free version of Teams. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
So they're yanking it out from the core of Windows. So I can only assume. And again, I'm going to use the assume word here, but I can only assume that the only justification I can think for that is that they're trying to head off the complaints about Teams being bundled with Windows.
Yeah,
I
possibly,
guess.
Yeah.
So you have to choose to install it. Maybe it all seems a bit odd.
And of course, it'll probably come with Teams, but maybe if they have any antitrust issues, it'll just be a tick box when you install it. They just seem to struggle to get people to use.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a moment with Skype and everything else, especially if we go back to lockdowns and people were all having calls with each other instead of meeting in person and things, and that was the time to roll out of the system. But it doesn't seem to have really had any. I don't know anybody, even in the tech world, that uses the free version. If you're quite techie, you'll use the full version of Teams, wouldn't you, with one of your various accounts?
Well, exactly. I mean, I think we can safely say that the Microsoft, definitely missed the trick by deciding to pretty much hobble the Skype client just as the pandemic began, which is, I think, timing was awful for them, and of course it meant that they, users found themselves with a Skype client that didn't work very well, just as they were having to sort of live at home and talk to their families online. So the likes of Zoom and things, I think, very much took over where Skype could have been, and Microsoft instead has floundered with Teams, which has worked great in the corporate world. If you're a Microsoft shop, Teams is great. Although not so great if you're trying to talk to other orgs. I'm sure Gary would agree. But if you're in one company and you're talking to other people, Teams works really well. But it's never really had much traction as a consumer tool. And seeing Microsoft tried to shoehorn it into Windows, I guess basically to replace Skype as the consumer offering, hasn't really worked. But they did keep adding features to it. So I'm surprised it's going. I'm surprised they're giving up in the way that they are.
So this is how it's now Teams for Home or Teams Free, and it is like you say, communities and things like that. It looks great. I just think they need to advertise it, or at least tell people it exists. Perhaps that's part of the problem, because they don't talk to consumers anymore. No one knows this thing exists.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it's like you said, it's a combination of things. But that antitrust maybe is an issue, and Google got hit by that with their advertising, didn't they, by the EU recently. So quite a big.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously this isn't the dev channel. There's no guarantee this will make it through to beta or its preview, but I think we can be fairly sure we'll start to see chat or the old Teams client being unpicked from the guts of Windows.
Yeah.
Shame really.
At the same time as well, they released 25393 for the Canary Channel.
Oh really?
Yes, they didn't even do a blog post for it. They did do a tweet, so that's why I saw it. So I did record a video of it. I just tacked it on to the beginning of my other build video, because there is nothing. The only thing that he actually got was the new widget. So if you love widgets, then Canary Channel is just the thing for you.
Just I don't love widgets.
No. So I'm still not sure. Like you said, maybe it's under the hood stuff, but there's not a lot of action going on in Canary. I'm optimistically expecting a big bang. Look at all this stuff. Here's Windows 12. Only Canary users get it. Here you go. You've got 12 months before we release it. I'm optimistic.
Excellent. I'm glad you are, Ian. I'm glad you are. Let's think. When did Windows 11 come out? So I guess we'll probably maybe October time, perhaps. Thinking about the dates and things.
Yeah.
Would also probably fit in quite well with. Is it Ignite will be around then too, which is the next non-partner Microsoft, because I think Inspire will come before that if Inspire's running this year.
Yes, maybe. Although I think they'll do a separate event, and we'll one of those. We're going to show you the future of Windows, things like that. But it's whether they go for another year of the 24 H1 or H2, or whether they choose to rebrand it. I mean, this it's all marketing, isn't it? In Windows 10, Windows 11, under the hood, they're just iterations of each other. You could have called this Windows 11 could have been called Windows 10, 22, whatever. So it depends how they want to do it. But I'm just hoping there's some stuff coming.
I think it would be even more interesting to see if they do a release of it for the HoloLens 2.
Yes, because the HoloLens 2 just got Windows 11.
What does that 2 mean exactly? Was that unkind of me to say? Oh, I wonder how they get on with that.
Again, I forgot. I forgot that HoloLens 2 was still a thing, and they're still developing it. To be honest,
it's tragic, really.
Yeah, it is. I
mean, it's one of those things when you look at all the the headlines and buzz that Apple generated with its Vision Pro headset. You think, oh, poor HoloLens. Never mind.
Yeah, definitely. We did get a couple of beta builds as well last week, but nothing too exciting on that. I seem to remember. Just the toast notification thing that pops up, so you can turn off distractions with toast notifications. In fact, I'd say the biggest change, the biggest one seems to be this release that we've just got tonight of this release preview one. So I've yet to read through it all, but there's, as you see, I'm scrolling down.
There's quite a lot in there. There's a lot in there actually. It's quite a big release. It's kind of shunting lots of stuff in there, because you've got I think it's possibly most interesting will be things like the showing of a local file in File Explorer with Outlook contacts, which will make it easy to sort of chuck files around. I think that was quite interesting, and of course you've got more mods to Defender, which again quite important.
Yeah, something interesting. It's interesting changes, but hopefully we'll get some more interesting stuff with the builds this week.
I do hope so. Although, I mean, I guess they're kind of there's not much more they can do with the front end now, and the really big bang features disappeared. Like I guess people would have been a really major one that was announced. The People Hub's gone, and so I don't think we're going to see anything as major as that going forwards.
No, we'll just see some AI integration, Copilot, and everything.
There's going to be a lot of AI. Yeah, you have AI rammed down your throat for the next couple of years, whether you like it or not. You will be using AI. Windows will be trying to guess what it thinks you want to do, and you say, "No, I don't mean that." Just trying to think about how bad autocorrect on phones tends to be.
Yeah. or even my Amazon device. I've got a plug-in here called Desk Plug, and it mustn't like my accent very well, because every now and again I say, nearly every time I say, turn on Desk Plug, and it says, I don't know a desk plug. Yes, you do know a desk plug. And then you say, turn on Desk Plug, and it says, turning on Desk Plug. So I think it hears best plug instead of desk plug. But it hears something, but the second time it always gets it right, which is really weird as well. So I'm often arguing with my device. Yes, you do know a device. You've just turned it on for me. So so that'll be your thing. Open Word. I can't find bird. No, Word. Arguing with your computer. This is the whole thing. This interaction through either voice or even chat. It always seems quite good. Even a chatbot seems like, oh, that's a great thing. You can use natural language. But give me a command line interface and you can just get everything done in what you want done with a command. It's I suppose it's not as easy to.
You're sounding like the old man shouting at the cloud. You really are there.
Yes, yeah.
But yes, I mean, voice control and kind of assistance on PCs. It's not a new thing. I mean, obviously, Microsoft's last attempt was Cortana, which is being rudely torn out and phased out. So it just seems to go round and round and round. I mean, I can remember all kinds of voice control things from the old days. Really,
I remember the Sound Blaster one.
Yeah,
that one in the AW32. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah, I mean, crikey, I can remember voice control. I think on a old TI machine as well back in the 80s. So it's nothing particularly new, and the concept of assistance is not particularly new either. But we are being kind of led to believe that the AI is this wonderful, marvelous panacea. I'd say just wait until the machines really start thinking, then we're in trouble.
and that's why I think Charlie Brooker, the writer of Black Mirror, said he's not doing those kind of stories now, but AI thing, because when they started doing Black Mirror in 2011, that was a future thing, and now it's here.
Yes, well, exactly. I mean, you mentioned Black Mirror in the show notes, which is a superb series. Although I think it's also an acquired taste. You either like it or you really don't like it. But I do feel sorry for Charlie Brooker in some ways, because of course, you can't really write a dystopian tech thing anymore, because by the time it's been written, recorded, streamed, it's come true. So it's a bit like was it Amanda Iannucci doing saying, I can't do politics shows anymore because it's just satire. Yes. We're now beyond satire. Whatever I write, reality is even madder. So
yeah. The reason I mentioned Black Mirror in the past, because I've always really enjoyed that show right from its beginning, when it was sort of dystopian technology. It's kind of evolved from that and now a bit of a wider brief. But I don't know, have you seen it?
I still can't believe the pig episode. It was before, obviously, it all went about the alleged stories about the UK Prime Minister, and of course, he'd written the pig episode before that.
Yeah. There's some fantastic episodes, especially from the early ones. The one, I think it's called Complete History of You, where you've got the technology is then that there's a camera in your eye that records everything.
Yep.
So then you can re-go back to bits, and really why that is not a good thing. You can,
exactly.
Yeah. But have you seen the new ones that released last week?
I haven't seen them yet. No. I must admit, I'm still. I've been quite tragic, actually. I've been trying to work my way through. I think it's Bandersnatch, isn't it? Which has got all the different branches. I love that, yeah. I've been branching through that, because that's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what the budget must have been for that, but it's such an impressive tour de force, both in terms of Netflix doing the interactivity, and obviously being a 1980s child. It's like, I remember those games. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. It reminded me, and if anybody's not seen this it's kind of a choose your own adventure story. Effectively, it's on Netflix, and you get some options. Go through scene option. You get to choose which record that the character buys from the shop, or it could be far worse. Does it kill somebody or not? You get to choose that, and I think that someone's drawn out these paths, and there's literally hundreds of ways that you can route this story, because they filmed all this different thing, and it makes it into an interesting story. But it does go back to sort of those books that you used to get as a kid in the 80s, where you know, if you want to attack the demon, turn to page 7 and flip to page 7. And yeah, I do. Those were really good as a kid. They were sort of, you know, they really yeah, your imagination filled in the blanks in there. But yeah, that was great in that Bandersnatch. A great use of the technology. The new series, as I won't spoil any spoilers, but it makes things of. There is an AI-ish story around a streaming service called Streamberry, which is brilliant how they've done that one. There is a great one for especially someone of our age and perhaps older, set in 1979, which is very Hammer style.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so if any those, I even though the Hammer horror stories and then their kind of stories are a bit where we would have been able to watch them in the 80s because we've been too young, but actually going back and watch the early 70s ones with those shows, they're on BritBox actually. But anyway, they're in this new series. There is one and it's really well made and very brown and 1970s. So it's got a good mix of stories anyway. So if you like these kind of things, yeah, I mean, I talked to my son about it. He likes those kind of shows, but he said he could only watch 1 or 2 at a time because it's almost too much. Whereas I can consume those quite easily and just pile through. I love them. Anything dystopian like that, but definitely worth watching if you, especially for the technology stuff. There is some good technology stories in this series as well, but there's also some less technology based if you're just, you know, interested in good TV shows. But all cleverly written, and I do like the little bits of clues that get dotted through an episode. It's one of those shows, isn't it, where I actually can watch them again because when there's the twist comes later on, you know, they've signposted those throughout, you know, just as they did in the Hammer series and another series. So I always like stuff like that. A bit like Inside Number 9 is a good example of that, where they put the clues through the episode and you can often rewatch them. But yeah, for technology fans, it is a good show. But you have to. It is one of those things. I know some people hate it, but Bandersnatch, brilliant, especially because it's all around the writing Spectrum games and stuff like that. So
exactly,
yeah, and there is a nod to that in the new series as well. So you'll see that mentioned. But yeah, I love watching. It's Colin Rittman, isn't it? Which the names are loosely based on, you know, actual characters from that era. So, and there's a bit of Tangerine Dream in it as well, which is great. And talking of 80s stuff, I have got posted another 80s music tech video. I'm coming to the end of my stuff that I have, but this one is possibly the oldest one. Well, I think close to the oldest one. I think I got this when I was 15, so yeah, I guess it is the oldest one. This is the Yamaha DX100 from 1986.
It looks like a magnificent piece of equipment.
Yes, it is. It's just down there at the moment. It's a small synthesizer from 1986. Now, back in the 80s, you had the DX7, which was the synth, and especially if you watch Top of the Pops, everybody was using DX7. What, of course, didn't realize at the time is that they were all miming on Top of the Pops. But yeah, I didn't know that, so I thought that's the one I want. But of course, for some reason, my parents didn't want to spend £1,100 in 1985 on a synthesizer for me when I was 14 and 15. So I don't know why, but you know, as parent, but I did manage to persuade them to get me a £300 one, which is the DX100, which, like I said, I've still got, which has got little mini keys. It has actually got a strap, so you can use it as a keytar if you feel so inclined. But yeah, I have
keytar. Oh no!
Yes. Oh yes, you can't beat a keytar. And mine has got the strap, and that guitar strap is my original strap from when I was 15. But yeah, it's a great little synth, and I've recorded a video showing how you can edit them with a modern, you know, editing tools in Windows, which is a lot easier than it was back in the day. And it's got some nice sounds on it, and especially if you like a bit of late 80s and early 90s dance music as well, used this keyboard quite a lot. So anyway, that's a new video that I've got on there. So I only think I've got one keyboard left that I haven't featured yet, so which is from 2006, so it's getting a bit modern now. Wow. But they're quite fun to do these, and like I mentioned the other week, it's actually quite good to get a piece of technology you've had for a while and actually spend some time with it and demonstrate it as though it was a review that you were doing and going through it, because you learn more about it.
It's also very impressive, frankly, that it works. I mean, it's how old now?
Yeah, well, it's 86, my unit. I swapped the battery last year. I think it was coming up battery low, so it's got one of those CR, I think were they 2-3
CR32s, yeah.
Yeah, they've got one of them in it. Soldered on the board. So I cut it off, soldered on a battery holder, and then put a new battery in.
That's much better, yeah. Because I think one of the things that does tend to kill old tech is when the batteries leak.
Yes, and there are certain models. This isn't one of them. Those CR batteries are actually quite good. They don't leak, but there are some. I think some of the early mid-80 Korg ones that use this acid battery that destroys the motherboard.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've seen so many sort of old PCs and computers simply be destroyed by a leaky battery, which is a crying shame, really.
Yeah, and I think this particular Korg one, I think once it's eaten the board, that's it. There's nothing left of it. These are okay, but as soon as I got the battery warning, I did swap it out, and it's a fairly easy swap. There's you just got to be a bit careful when you're taking it off the board. You don't remove the tracks, but I did do a video on that actually, but it's actually fairly easy. But yeah, it is quite impressive, this guy. I mean, it was 300 and something quid when I got it. I have looked after it. I haven't worn it with the keytar out on stage or anything like that. So,
I think the next time we do a get together, you should basically wear it as a keytar, definitely.
Okay, maybe even next. Well, it's down there. I threatened to do it. It's down the bottom. But yeah, it is. You're right. It is quite good that it is working. All the keys work on it and everything.
I mean, it's funny because I think you probably, because you've had it for so long, you don't realize how old it is. That's going for, it's coming out 40 years and it still works.
Yeah.
The keys will work, the moving parts will work, the buttons will work.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty impressive, really, because I mean, it's some real quality build and workmanship there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So yeah, so anyway, check out that. And actually related to that, I was going to mention one to you as well, is I've mentioned that one of the Korg synths that I've got is Raspberry Pi powered. Well, they've actually released a few new ones that are Raspberry Pi powered. They don't specifically say which Raspberry Pi it is, but I think we saw the article last year, wasn't it, using the compute modules. But they've this one here, the Wave State, was a Raspberry Pi one, and they've just released a new version of it, which has double the amount of polyphony, so the number of keys that you can use, and they've increased the sample RAM. So I'm guessing that's perhaps just a question of more powerful Raspberry Pi compute modules available. They've swapped the module out and then just changed the code to allow it to do that.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I think that because there was an issue with the Pi, wasn't it, of being available, wasn't it, the compute modules? But I think perhaps they're coming online a bit easier to get hold of now.
Yes, I mean, I think Eben Upton, the Raspberry Pi boss person, has. I mean, he's been reluctant to kind of say if things were going, if the stock situation was going to ease. But recently, he has begun making noises to indicate that yes, the stock situation is definitely easing now. So, I would think by the end of this year, we should be fine again. I think that's what it's looking like. But we'll see. Who knows? But certainly, the compute modules for industry should be easing up now.
Yeah. So here's the article from raspberrypi.com, actually from last year. So they're using this was using the Pi Compute Module 3. I'm guessing that for this new version, they've just gone for a more powerful version and then increased the capabilities in software. That's probably one of the great benefits of using the Pi module, isn't it? They can just switch production to using a different module and get the extra capabilities. I guess they've chucked more RAM in it and whatever. It's all system on a chip, isn't it? So I suppose the extra RAM is just available on the Pi that comes from it. You don't have to put more RAM chips or anything, do you?
No.
Yeah, so that's good anyway. And I don't think the price changed hugely on it either, but there is a nice big version of it as well. That would be something I would see at Korgfest, Synthfest.
Exactly. Yeah. You should go there with your credit card ready, armed and ready to go.
I don't think I would fit that under my arm through the door necessarily without anybody spotting it.
You could always go
Quite
for a long.
large.
So I need a long-term review. Bearing in mind my DX100 has lasted for nearly 40 years. I want to see if this can also last for 40 years. So can I take it away, please?
Yes, that's true. I've got to have wonder what the depreciation on a Yamaha DX100 is spread over 40 years. That's pretty good, actually. Well,
exactly.
So my parents did a worthwhile investment.
It's basically free at this point, isn't it? So
yeah, so they were right after all. Although if they had bought me that DX100, DX7, who knows where I would have been now. Maybe not chatting to you here. I would be prancing around somewhere with a guitar.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. You'd be on stage doing some, I don't know, a Pink Floyd tribute band of some form.
Yeah, maybe. Well, glad that we're not. So I think with wise decisions. So I think that was all the tech news I had for this week. I don't know if you had anything else.
No, it's been a quiet week. I can confirm that the Kia Niro EV is still working well. That's all good. The range has been bizarrely going up, even though I've been driving around with the air conditioning on and the windows open. It's now got 287-mile range on it when it's fully charged. First, Gary can probably explain why it does that, because I thought, well, I've been driving it like a lunatic and had the aircon on and the windows open, so I would have thought that would be catastrophic for the range, but it seems not. It seems pretty accurate. It just seems to just go on. So still very, very impressed with the Kia EV.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. That's good. Yeah, Gary. Maybe it's like when you get your phone and some other things. The battery life always seems a bit worse at first, and then it improves perhaps as the particularly on the car. It's learning your usage patterns.
Well, I think that's what it does. It kind of learns what you're doing, because initially it dropped to a catastrophic 260 miles, which is terrible, and then it perked up. I can't work out why it keeps creeping upwards, even though I'm driving it like an idiot. So I'm quite sure how it's working. How it's assuming that my terrible driving style is okay.
Yeah. Well, it obviously can't be doing too bad. Right, so where can we find you? Oh, you're on Blue Sky now, aren't you?
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky. Just do a search for Richard _Speed or Mastodon, which I'm not going to even try and pronounce that one.
And I've got Blue Sky, but I've signed into it, but haven't actually started using it yet. So maybe I need to.
Yeah, you should do it. It's kind of like it's like Twitter used to be a long time ago.
Oh, I remember those. Those were the night. The glory days of Twitter.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, enjoy it now, because I'm sure it won't last. So.
Yeah. Oh, and I've got on Friday night, I'm off to see Pet Shop Boys.
Oh, brilliant! That'd be superb. Let's see there, plenty of guitars happening on stage there, I'm sure.
Yes, that is where to expect lots of guitar action. Maybe I'll take it along. Just you never know.
I think the last time I saw a guitar on stage was when I saw Flight of the Conchords, but they were doing it very ironically.
Yes, well, obviously I would be too. My sons don't feel quite as enthusiastic for the guitar as I am.
Well, for some reason. Then they clearly know sons of yours. That's just it's disowned you now.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool does this look? And they'll say, "Dad, it doesn't look cool at all."
Yeah,
get out.
Yes, it's the same when I fire up the vocoder, and they're not as keen on that. Right, well, we should be back same time, same place next week. You can get me on Twitter at @IXDixon or on Blue Sky at @IXDixon. Make sure you check out our videos on the YouTube channel. There's a couple of demo songs with videos on there. So as well as the DX100, there's actually a song that I made with the DX100 without any talking or anything else. So you can check that out. But anyway, we'll see you next week.
Cheerio.